Welcome to the Krista Escamilla Show.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Krista Escamilla Show. It's such a pleasure to be spending this time with all of you. I hope the world is treating you well and you're doing good wherever your day is at right now as you're listening. And thank you to all of our listeners all across the world. We're loving hearing from you and connecting with you on Instagram and Facebook. So keep those questions coming in and nominations of people you'd like to see here in our chair on the podcast. We love hearing from you. We are so excited to welcome today's guest. Walt Williams is the head golf coach at Midland College. And Walt, thank you so much for sharing your time with us and your story today.
My pleasure. Glad to be here.
Well, I can't wait to hear it because my husband says it's an amazing story. And I know you've been a golf coach for quite some time and here in Midland for 6 years, but we want to know how you got started. Let's go to the beginning, wherever you want to start.
The beginning of golf, I guess. I started when I was living in Snyder as a kid and took some golf lessons when I was 12 years old and pretty much been on the golf course ever since then, and played in high school and we had a pretty good team, but I never played number one because I wasn't great, but I was good and enjoyed it and really loved being around the guys and coaching and seeing how they're doing and trying to help my teammates and stuff. So after that, I went and played at McMurray, and we won a couple of conference championships there and had some fun at that place, and loved Abilene, and made all conference there. So obviously we had a very good team, and I never played number one there either, but I really enjoyed it again, and have always enjoyed the competition and being around the guys. And so then I stayed in the business. I worked as an assistant pro for a few years and even as a head pro for a few years. So I was a club pro for about 9 years, I guess.
Where was that at?
Well, several places. I was at Pine Hills in Lubbock, which doesn't exist anymore, and I was at Waterwood National down outside of Huntsville, which was a Pete Dye golf course, kind of a resort course, and it doesn't exist anymore either. So, and then I was at Squaw Creek outside of Fort Worth in Weatherford.
That one still exists.
That one still exists. In fact, we played there last year, so our team played there. So
that's fun.
So those are the three courses that I spent most of the time at, and did that for several years. I was also at Oak Ridge Country Club in Madisonville, which is where one of the elite players in the world right now, Sam Bennett, Texas A&M star. He's from there, and his grandfather actually hired me there. So
oh, that's neat.
So I've been in contact with the Bennett family for several years, and got to watch them grow. And his dad was a very good player that I played with and got to know really well. And unfortunately, he passed away, but Sam's doing great, and really excited to watch his progress as he goes on to the PGA Tour, I hope. So
I think that's one of probably the best parts about your job is getting to see those golfers go through the process and the journey and then decide if they're going to go on to that next level. But I want to backtrack a little bit. Let's talk about when you knew you wanted to be a golf coach, because you were a club professional.
Right.
At what point did you go, I want to switch gears here?
It might have been, when I was in high school, obviously my club pro, a man named Bill Keys in Snyder was my hero, and I wanted to be Bill when I grew up, when I was 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to be in that, but then as I was playing, we had a kind of an assistant coach at Snyder High School named Larry Anderson that coached me and taught me things that I never knew about golf and about competition, and he kind of probably lit the fire as far as me being a coach.
Do you have a piece of advice that he gave you during that time that you still remember to this day?
I just remember, I was a very, like I said, a pretty average player. I would shoot 77 or 78 most of the time, and one day I remember I was playing, and I had a tendency to get upset and get down on myself, and he just encouraged me one day and told me that, you got 7 holes left, let's go try to make 7 pars and maybe throw in a birdie in there, and who knows what you might end up with.
Yeah.
And I'd never, sounds really simple, but I'd never even thought of that as a 16, 17-year-old kid.
Right.
So I thought,
and you're not alone. Most of them feel that way.
I thought when I'd made 2 or 3 bogeys in a row, I was done.
Yeah.
So I had to. He kind of encouraged me to battle through it, and I ended up playing pretty well that day, and we won the district championship. And
wow.
I mean, I didn't, but I helped, So.
But it goes to show what some words of encouragement on
Yeah.
the golf course can say, because it's so tough, and you probably know this better than anyone. What to say to those players
Right.
when they've gone bogey,
Yeah,
right?
right.
It's like what do you say to turn them around? And so just what you said there, it's like just saying that one little thing, like, hey, let's go make some pars and a birdie. And then it doesn't really put the pressure on. You got to go win this. You got,
Yeah.
And
you'd be surprised how often I use something that simple to my team, and how often that they respond to that.
Right.
It's just something that they have the same tendency I did, and most players, like you said, do. Is when you've made a couple of mistakes and gotten a couple over, and you didn't expect to be there, then you kind of tend to get down, and so. Either that or you get mad. Some get mad and some get down. And I've had some of both.
Right.
As a coach, obviously.
And as a player yourself, too.
Yeah.
You've been there.
Yeah. So
then you went and you coached some big schools, some big D1 schools.
Yeah, my first coaching job. I was a volunteer coach for a couple of years while I was a club pro at Sam Houston State. And I graduated from Sam Houston State after playing at McMurray. And then the coach there was appointed AD when I was just finishing up graduate school at Sam Houston, and I went in to see him one day, and I said, "Who are you going to hire as the golf coach?" And he said, "I don't know, maybe you." And I said, "That'd be great."
Yeah.
So I filled out the application and put a resume in, and they opened the process up, and had I don't know how many people applied, but he gave me the job, and he said, "How much you want me to pay you?" And I said, I just wanted the opportunity to show you I can do this, and then you can pay me whatever you think I'm worth. So
wow,
he took me a little bit too much to heart. He really
didn't pay you much.
didn't
Huh?
pay me very much.
I was going to say, what an open-ended question there. How much do you want?
But my second year at Sam Houston, which is crazy to be a guy that has never coached and just get the head coaching job at a D1 school. So I was really fortunate just to be in the right place at the right time.
Right. And stayed there several years?
And we won the conference championship my second year, and we went to regional 3 times and had some success there. And I stayed 6 years and really enjoyed it, and had some great players that I still keep in contact with every day. And well, not every day, but every month probably. And then while I was there, my 5th year, we started the women's team, so I coached men's and women's golf.
That's awesome.
My last year there, and had some success with the women's team. And then right after that, Washington State called, and I didn't even know where Washington State was. So,
where is that? Isn't it like at the end of the country? It's about to fall off over there? What's going on?
Their assistant AD called me and asked me if I would have an interest in their job, and I said, "Where is it?" And they said, "It's in Pullman, Washington." I said, "I've never even heard of Pullman, Washington."
Right.
It's just a little town up in the southeastern corner of Washington. So they flew me up there and interviewed and enjoyed it and had a good time. And I thought it was a beautiful place. Of course, I went in the summer.
That was the key to getting you to say yes.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So they
For those of you who've never been, it rains a lot.
So it was a beautiful place, and they offered me the job while I was there, and so.
Yeah.
I asked them how much they were going to pay me, and they said, "Well, what do you make?" And I told them, and they said, "We'll pay you twice that." And I said, "I'm here."
Perfect. Yeah. Because that's the goal.
Yeah. So
Make a little more on the next one.
I asked my dad and my father-in-law, "Is this something I should do, taking your daughter away from you this far?" And my dad was like, "Yeah, I would say you should do that." And so did he. So
Nice.
So we went up there and ended up, we're thinking we would spend 3 or 4 years there and then maybe come back to Texas and get a bigger job in Texas. And we loved it and raised our family there and stayed 13 years.
Wow,
And
that's it must have been good to you.
yeah, it was really good. Washington State had, as far as I know, I don't think they had ever been to regionals, and we went to regionals 8 or 9 times maybe 12 times with both teams. In 13 years. So we had a lot of success, won a lot of tournaments, and had a lot of all Pac-10 players. And
Fantastic.
I won the Coach of the Year there after I'd won the Coach of the Year at Sam Houston. So I've had some success in D1, which was fun, and met a lot of people, and it really helps me now because my players are looking to go to D1s, and the fact that I coached
Right.
For 20 years in D1, 20 plus years, I know coaches all over the country. And in fact, a whole bunch of coaches played for me that are around the country. In fact, the coach at Sam Houston now played for me.
Oh, that's
The coach
great.
at Washington State played for me. So.
Well, and you know what they're looking for. And that,
Yeah,
I think that's
yeah.
a good question. I want to get back to how you then got back to Midland and your West Texas roots. But
Right.
but first, what is a college coach looking for? Because I think that's one thing every parent, every golfer, every player out there really wants to know what it is you're looking for in a good team member.
Yeah, I think it's probably different for every coach, but I can tell you what I look for. And I think some of the players that played for me that are now coaches, they talk to me regularly and talk about what to find and what to look for. And I look for kids that, obviously you look at scores first. So I'm looking at tournament scores from where they played and what they shot. And the things I always look at is who they beat, because sometimes in local tournaments or even in some regional tournaments, you're winning, but you're not beating very many people that are excellent players. You're just beating kind of
Right.
local guys that are good players but not great. So
Right.
I look at who they beat and where they shot, what scores, and what kind of conditions they're playing in and what kind of courses they're playing. So mostly, first thing, obviously, as a coach, you're looking at scores. And the second thing you're looking at, one of the first questions I always ask them are, how are your grades? Because they're going to, in a college golf team, you're out of town a lot. You're going to miss a lot of classes. You're going to miss exams and papers and things that you have to get turned in. So you need kids that are really good academically.
Right. Because you're going to school,
Right.
right? And so
You're-
you're there for the education.
You're enrolled in a university full
That's
time,
right.
and you're gone a
Yeah.
lot. So I mean, we miss a lot of days of class, and Division I does too. Probably not as many as we do because we play more rounds than they do typically, but they're missing a lot of class. So they have to be up in school and have to be able to do stuff online and from their hotel room wherever we are,
Yeah.
and email papers in and email stuff in, and so they have to be on top of it, and they have to be kind of self-motivated to take care of that.
Right. Right.
So we look for great scores and we look for great students. And then the next two things I look at, I look at kids that are competitive. I like kids that want to come down the stretch and make birdies in the last few holes, not the guys that make the bogeys in the last few holes and give it away, but the guys that make some birdies in the last few holes and pull it off.
Yeah.
So I look for competitiveness, and then I look for demeanor. I'm watching
Attitude.
when I'm out watching kids and recruiting, I already know they can play, or I wouldn't be there.
Right.
So,
Right.
so I'm trying to figure out how competitive they are and how good they are, demeanor-wise, on the golf course when adversity strikes.
Yes.
Because adversity's part of the game. It's a really big part of the game, and a lot of kids don't handle that well, and some do. So I'm looking
Right.
for kids that aren't throwing things and banging things and shouting and carrying on and not being rude to their fellow competitors. And
a good
I'm
one.
looking for kids that are easy to get along with, because we're going to have 10 or 12 guys on the team. You're going to have to be able to get along with different personalities and different cultures even for our team, because we have international players. So I'm looking for guys that are fairly easygoing but fairly competitive, with relatively calm demeanors. I mean, I don't want them to be okay with losing, so I don't want them to be
Right.
completely flat, but I do want them to be fiercely competitive but also controlled, and
Have a little grit.
yeah, have some grit. In fact, I tell them one of the lines I tell them is that I look for grit and I abhor quit. So those are some of the things that I kind of tell them, a lot of things like that. So
I love it. I love one-liners like that. I love good golf one-liners. Well, and let's face it, have you ever met a golfer that has won every golf tournament they've been in?
no, nobody does.
Nobody does.
Tiger didn't.
Exactly. And I think you learn more, from those losses or those big comebacks,
Right.
and then you do from the wins. The wins are great, don't get me wrong.
Actually, like you're saying, when I go watch them, I'm oftentimes hoping they make some bad shots, hoping they make some bogeys or a double or have a bad round in one of the rounds I'm there, because I want to see how they respond to that.
Right.
So
And if they know
they're always upset, or their parents are all upset because they're having a bad hole and the coach is here. And
Right, I was going
I'm
to
like,
say.
that's what I want to see. I want to see how they handle adversity, because there's a lot of adversity in golf.
Yeah, because most kids are going to get nervous when a
Right.
coach is watching them, and so a bogey or two is going to happen. But I like that you say that's okay. That's what you
Yeah.
want to see, because that's going to happen when they're on your
Absolutely,
team.
absolutely.
I love that. We do something called Quote of the Day. And so we're going to take a quick break, and you're going to pick a quote out of the quote bowl,
Okay.
and then you're going to tell me what it means to you.
Okay.
Okay. And then we're going to come back to how you got back to West Texas. All right, which card did you get? The encourage card. I love it, because as a coach, who's more encouraging than the coach? What does it say on the back?
On the back it says, try to be a rainbow in someone's cloud. Is that what it says?
Try to be a rainbow in someone's cloud. Yes, Maya Angelou. What does that one mean to you?
Well, that's the thing I told you probably inspired me to be a coach originally, was the assistant coach coming over to me and encouraging me when I was in the middle of a dark cloud on the golf course as a 16-year-old. So, so that's what
be a rainbow.
That's what I want to be every day. I want those guys to believe they can run through a wall. I don't want them ever doubting. I don't want them ever afraid of a shot. I want them to be encouraged, and if they make mistakes, that's completely okay with me, because I know that's how you learn. That's how I learned. So that's how they're going to learn. And I look really more distant than close. I mean, I watch them because I want them to be good down the road. I know sometimes they're going to be great for me, and sometimes they're going to be great for the next guy. But, and sometimes they're going to be great out in the future somewhere. So I really focus on the long term a lot more than the short term. So encouraging words help them get there, I believe.
Do you have a favorite quote that you live by, or that if I went and asked any of your students and your athletes right now, they would say, "Oh yeah, Coach Williams always tells me that." Do you have one of those?
I don't know if I have a single one, because I use quotes so much. I mean,
You're like me. I'm like, I love quotes.
I use quotes all the time. I think probably, and I couldn't completely, I don't really memorize them. I just kind of know the thought behind them. But, von Goethe, the German philosopher, said that if you treat people what you want them to become, you help them to become what they reach their aspirations in life.
Their full potential.
If you treat them like you want them to be, then they get a lot more closer to being that. So
I love that.
So
that's a good one.
I mean, that's paraphrased by a long shot. I can't remember exactly what it says.
No, that's good.
I probably have it in my phone, so I can look it up and tell you.
No, that's a great one, and I love that, because I think the way you treat people, and especially you're working with kids at an age that they're so impressionable, but yet they are also exerting or really experiencing independence, right, for the first time, in their life.
Having to wash their own clothes.
Yeah, wash their clothes, eat. I find every college golfer goes, I have a hard time finding when to eat, because their whole life someone has fed them, right?
Yeah.
Here's your food. Here's your food. I know our kids
and their meals are set around golf. Well,
exactly.
In college, they're not. The cafeteria sets meals, and you have to be there.
Exactly.
And it's not always around golf.
Exactly. So they're at a very impressionable age, and so I love that. It's the way you treat them that will help them become all that they are meant to be, and that's so important. If you looked at every relationship that you have, whether it's a student, teacher, coach, your parent, because I know you're a parent of how many kids? 9 kids. So not only do you have all of these great teammates that you're leading, you also have 9 children.
Have a team at home, too.
Yeah, you sure do.
I don't anymore, but I did.
Right. At one point, they were probably mostly all home. Let's talk about your family, and like when you said, "Okay, we've been in Washington. It's time to come back to Texas." How did that play out?
Being in the Pac-10. It's now the Pac-12, but then it was the Pac-10, was a challenge every day from Washington, because we were in a town of 12,000. Pullman, Washington is a town of 12,000, and it's on the east side of the state in the mountains, so we got snow a lot. Not the rain like Seattle, but we got a lot of snow. In fact, it started snowing usually in October and would snow sometimes all the way into April. So,
wow. So
it was really tough to compete against Stanford and Arizona State and Cal and,
where
USC
it's sunny.
and UCLA. I mean,
sunny all year long.
They're in big cities and on the beach or in the desert, and we're in a small town in the mountains, snow. So,
right.
So it was always a challenge to do that, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, I got to see some of the greatest players every week. I mean, Patrick Cantlay and guys that are on the tour, and dozens of the guys on the tour I've talked to and visited with while I was coaching in the Pac-10, and know a lot of those guys and got to know a bunch of them. So I've seen some of the greatest players at the highest level of college. In fact, I guess while I was there, several Pac-10 teams won the national championship in the 13 years I was there, and
Wow.
and most years I was there, one of the women's Pac-10 teams won the national championship, and I coached the women too. So
Yeah.
so I've seen the highest level of players on both the men's and women's side in college, and coached some great players. And like I said, we won a lot of tournaments and had a bunch of all-conference guys and a couple of All-Americans, and so. After a while, I thought, the older I get, the colder it gets.
This is so true. This is so true.
After being there 13 years, I was like, I'm just getting too old to be this cold.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of days that we played that it was, today, what's it today, 45 here?
Right.
Well, that would be a really good day in Pullman, Washington.
Ooh. Whoa, that's a good day.
In April.
Right.
There wasn't any days like this in February.
When it should be 70 and sunny.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, we were inside a lot.
Yeah.
So probably a couple of months of the year we practiced inside, and we were fortunate that down about 30 miles south of us, the Snake River ran through, and there was a valley, and it didn't snow as much there, so we could go down there. In fact, in February we played in the valley a lot, and
I bet it was beautiful though.
it was beautiful. Yeah. So we got to travel and play some beautiful courses. We flew all over the country to Florida and Texas and every school in California and Arizona, and we played in Washington, we played in Virginia, we played in a whole bunch of places. So we didn't really have a problem as far as getting places where it was sunny, and
Right.
so we traveled a lot and played in beautiful locales all over the country.
Do you have a favorite memory from that time?
I think
Maybe a big golf tournament that stands out?
I think probably. We really enjoyed playing in Washington, D.C. Georgetown hosted a tournament, and we played there and won that. And one of my guys won the tournament, and that was a blast. And we played really well in Texas and won a tournament down by Houston one year. And I guess the girls' team won Stanford, which is a kind of a big deal.
That
And
is a
one
big
of
deal.
And one of my girls set the Stanford course record when we did that. So we had some really, really elite level players.
Yeah.
And she played on the tour, and never made it really big, but she played on the tour. And I've had several guys that played on the tour. None of them ever had a win on the tour, but they won on the lower levels. They won
Yeah.
big professional events that just weren't on the tour. So we've had a lot. We had a lot of fun, went a lot of places, and after 13 years, I wanted to get back home to Texas.
Yes.
So we, after 13 years, we'd played really well that last year I was there, and we were ranked. I think the highest we were. In fact, one year we were ranked 17th in the nation. So
Wow.
on the men's side, and we finished in the top 25 on the women's side a couple of times. So we had a lot of really good success, and it was a beautiful place to raise a family because it was a small town. It was almost like a Hallmark Christmas movie.
It sounds like it. Yeah, I
It
want to
really
go
was.
see it now.
Yeah, it really was. It was like a Hallmark Christmas movie in the winter, and so it was a beautiful place, and we loved it, and the kids loved it, and I just decided in 2011 that been there, done that. I'm
Yeah.
ready to go back to Texas where it's a little warmer and raise my and plus I was gone so much with both teams that I didn't feel like I was a great father to my oldest children because they grew up with me gone a whole lot, and
Yeah.
including recruiting after that in the summertime.
Right.
So I decided to come back to Texas and slow down a little, and being from Snyder, I first went to Snyder, and then I coached at Western Texas a couple of years.
Okay.
And then was offered some other jobs around and bounced around a little till I could get back to Midland. I always wanted to be in Midland because I thought surely Dellner's going to retire eventually.
And he did 40 years later.
He just wouldn't retire. So, he's a wonderful man. In fact, I talked to him yesterday and just really love Dellner and have always gotten along well with him. When I coached at Western Texas, he would take care of me and show me the ropes around here.
And what a program to step into, really.
Yeah.
And with such a legacy and
Yeah.
such a history. Let's talk a little bit about Midland College and the Shaps and what you have going on, because when I watch and I follow along in the paper and watch on Facebook and Instagram, you always have an amazing team. I mean, the teams that you bring to West Texas are outstanding, and I've actually known a few and met a few through my own children golfers. And a shout out to Davis Seibert, because Davis is a great kid on your team right now.
Yes, he is.
Just an outstanding, I'm sure, teammate because he's so motivational to everyone. But let's talk about your team because I know that what you're doing now, you're making some just some big strides.
Well, I think we have a really good team. I think we have one of the best teams in the nation, and that's borne out over the 6 years I've been here. We haven't finished lower than third in the national championship, so we've been pretty good for the last 5 years.
Yeah, that's pretty good, I would say.
And we've won the conference championship every year I've been here, and we've won the district championship every year I've been here. I've had some really good players.
What's the goal for this year?
The goal's always the same. I mean, I told my boss, Forrest, when he hired me that I wouldn't promise him any national championships, but I would promise him that we would be in the conversation every year. And
love it.
So far we have been. We've been in the conversation every year, and maybe we got snake bit a couple of times. The COVID year, we were the #1 team in the country and didn't get to go play it out, and had beaten everyone we had played.
That's tough.
And we didn't get to play that out, so that was kind of a snake bite year. And then last year, Gregor, you've met Gregor.
Oh, he's a great young man, yeah.
Gregor had won 3 times and was the #2 ranked player in the country, and he got injured and didn't get to play in the national championship, and we still finished third without him. So, with him, it might have been a difference maker. So we've been snake bit a couple of times, but we've had a good team every year, and I think we have a good team this year. I think there's some really good teams out there. In fact, one of my former players called me this morning and said, "How's the team looking?" And I said, I think we're going to be the same. We're going to be in the conversation. If we play well and everybody stays healthy, we have a chance to win. But so does 6 or 7 or 8 other teams. So,
right. And it all depends on that day.
Yeah,
I mean, it really comes down to
golf is such. There's so many variables in golf that other sports don't have.
Right.
I mean, we play in a different course. We play in different weather. We play on different grasses. We play, and everything's different. Some
Right.
courses are long, some are short, some are wide, some are narrow, some are hilly, some are flat. Sometimes it's 40 degrees, sometimes it's 80 degrees. So.
Sometimes the wind is blowing 50 miles an hour, a lot in West Texas.
Sometimes there's a lot of trees, sometimes there's no trees.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of variables in golf that most sports don't have to deal with. So it's hard to say who a favorite is.
Right.
Several times we've been the #1 team in the nation going into the national championship and didn't win it.
Right.
And I don't think we've ever lost. I think that's some team just got hot that week and beat us. And
the birdies were falling.
yes, sometimes the other team's making some putts, and sometimes your team's not. And I know that one of our best rivals is right down the road here in Odessa, and Paul does a tremendous job, and he's won a bunch of national championships, and he's a great coach, and we enjoyed trying to compete against him every week, and I think they enjoy playing with us too. So New Mexico's very good, McLennan's very good, so Western Texas and Ranger are very good. There's a lot of good teams in this region. We have the best region in the country. In fact, last year our region had 6 of the top 8 teams at the national championship. So
that's unbelievable.
That
Think about that. West Texas. I mean, look what we're doing here. I love that. I think and we'll be rooting for you, and I know it's going to be a great year.
It's always a challenge to beat. I mean, if you play well in our region, you're going to play well at the national championship.
Yeah.
So that's just the way it is. We have the best region by far, and it's very competitive.
Right.
And I think we enjoy that, and that helps us.
Absolutely. Well, good luck to your team this year.
Ma'am.
I know we're coming up on an anniversary that I know hits hard. The anniversary of the bus crash that is probably every parent, every coach's, really every person's nightmare of what happened to the University of Southwest golf team. I know that has made a major impact on you. Is that the toughest thing you've been through as a golf coach?
Oh, yes, by far. I've never been anything like that before. So, I mean, good people. We played with them that day, and got to know all of those kids. And I sat around the scoreboard and visited with a couple of the girls, and got to know them a little bit when the girls groups were finishing up. And Tyler was a good friend, the coach, and I helped kind of mentor Tyler a little bit. He was a good guy, and got to know him and helped him get into some tournaments, and had him come play in ours, and we were very good friends. So it was very devastating to us and to me too. that is coming up. And I just talked to their new coach this week, and he said originally back in the summer they had committed to come play in our tournament. Yeah, we want to come back. We love the tournament and we love being over there. And then this week he called and said, as we get closer to it, the kids are getting a little unsure. So I think we're going to not play this year. And I told him that when I talked to him last summer. I said, are you sure they're going to want to do this?
Right.
I mean, this is going to be hard on them. I said, you might want to take a year or two off.
Right.
And so he called this week and said, you were right. We're not going to be able to come over. The kids are kind of having second thoughts about that and have decided it might just be way too emotional to come over there and play this week or in March. So they're not going to come back, but we certainly wish them the best and have prayed for them for the whole year and supported them, and Al's been a tremendous support for them too, and we appreciate him, and he and I got together and designed that little sticker and put it on bags, and their stickers are on bags all over the country. I mean, teams in Florida had them on them, and teams in who else? We had teams in SMU had them on all of their bags, and I can't remember, but their teams, Oklahoma high school kids had them all over their bags.
Wow.
And there's kids everywhere I've been, just about every tournament since then, I've seen somebody with that sticker on their bag, and that's...
It's a tragedy that affected the whole country and the whole golf world.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm sorry for your loss and for going through that, and I know it's difficult. How do you get your team back out there? Because I know your team had to go then compete.
Right.
Not that the tournament was canceled, but soon after, it's like, how do you get kids back out there? To face that fear after going through something like that.
Yeah, our next tournament was UT Rio Grande Valley is a Division I tournament, so it was tough, and we didn't play particularly well that week, and I think there was. But that was true of a lot of teams. A lot of teams at that Division I tournament said, "Hey, can we get stickers for our bags?" And so, sorry.
That's okay.
So I called Al that week and asked him to print some more up, and we got stickers to teams. I think one of the teams was from New Jersey. Oh, it was. I don't know, it wasn't St. John's there in New York, but it was somewhere a New Jersey team. Oh, Seton Hall. It was Seton Hall. Seton Hall wanted stickers for their bags, and they put them on their bags, and Rio Grande Valley did. And a bunch of teams ended up seeing our stickers on our bags and getting them for theirs. So it was a devastating week for everybody, not just West Texas. I mean, the guys at Seton Hall in New Jersey were feeling it almost as strong as we were. I mean, they were wearing University of Southwest caps when we played with them in one of the rounds at UT Rio Grande Valley, and they wore University of Southwest caps, so they were feeling
I love that
like
support.
We were. It was support all over the nation.
And we will continue to pray for their team this year as they get back out there and compete. We do something we call Question of the Day, so we're going to switch gears here just a little bit. So pull a question out, and we'll see what your answer is. All right, which card did you get? You got the active card.
Active.
Appropriate for a golf coach. And what's your question?
What is your superpower or your spirit animal?
What is your superpower?
Oh, that's a good one. I don't know. I like to think that I'm mentally strong. I mean, I don't know if I'm not strong, obviously. I'm an old guy, but
you're still strong. You have to walk 18 holes. 1836. That's a lot of walking.
Yeah, I try to read the card.
Yeah, okay, good.
But I think, my children tell me that my mental strength gives them strength.
Oh, I love that.
That I can help them through difficult times. And so if I had a superpower, I don't know if there's an animal that has that, but I would say just mental toughness, because I can help them through difficulties in their lives when my daughters come to me, or my son. My son, who now coaches against me, he's the coach at Ranger College.
You're kidding me. That's funny. I love that. Well, I want to circle back to that because that's a great little nugget. I would love to hear more about that. But first of all, I want to ask you, you get your students or your student athletes for a couple of years, right? Because they're there 2 years, and then they're going on to, how do you prepare them for that next level, being that you've been at that next level?
Yeah, I think I might have a better concept of that than most because I've been there for 21 years. I've been at the very highest level. So I help them know what's important. I help them try to. You know, they get caught up on a lot of things that I think are minors, and I want to focus on the majors. And so I try to help them do things that will prepare them to be competitive at the next level and help them be composed. You know, I think composure is a huge piece, and that's what I spend most of my time teaching them, is composure. And I teach them, you know, they might want to stand out on the range and hit 4 irons for an hour, and I try to explain to them that you're going to hit 1 4-iron in a round of golf. You're going to hit.
It's a great point.
You're going to hit 10 or 12 wedges, and you're going to hit a whole lot of putts, and you're going to hit 14 drivers. Let's spend a lot of time working on the things that you're going to do a lot, and spend a little less time on the 4-iron and the 7-iron and some of those things. A lot of wedges, a lot of putters, a lot of drivers. So we kind of focus on the clubs that you use a lot. So
smart. Very good. What advice would you give? Because I know a lot of parents, you actually get them where you're not dealing with the parents as much, but you are a little. What advice would you give to parents of golfers?
Actually, that's one of the good things about colleges. I don't have to deal as much with parents.
I had a feeling you might say that. The golfing parent can be a little intense sometimes, because of course we all think our kid's the best golfer out there.
Every parent in the world thinks their kid's the best golfer out there, which is that's okay.
That's what you're supposed to think as a parent, right? What advice though would you give to a parent that will help their children become the best that they can be?
I would say competition. You know, like your kids have played a lot of competition, and your kids have done very well, and I would say that's usually the key. In fact, my kids at Washington State used to ask me, Coach, what makes Stanford different than us? How come they're better than us? And I tell them, I say, they're not really better than you, they're just better than you right now, because they come from the bigger clubs and the AJGA Tour and all of that, so they've played more high-level competition, so they're more ready to play in big events than you played in, the South Dakota Junior Championship. That's not quite the same.
That's a great point. Yeah.
And actually, the boy that asked me that was from South Dakota, and he was a very good player. He made all Pac-10, so he was a good player. But he asked that kind of question, and I get that kind of question a lot. How come these guys are this and we're this? And I said, well, it's not a matter of them being better than you. It's a matter of them being more prepared than you. And I would say the best preparation is competition. Yeah. And the higher the competition level you can play, the better you're going to be. In fact, Al was telling me that he's doing that with Alex. So,
yes.
So I think that's part of the deal. The more competition at a high level you play, the more composed you are when you get in those situations, because you've been there.
Yes, absolutely.
I would say that's
the nerves
probably
are different than the next time you go, because you've been there.
If you're from Midland and you're playing a tournament over at Ratliff, you're probably not going to be too nervous. Right. If you're from Midland and you're playing a tournament at Preston Trail in Dallas, you might be a little different. You might feel a little different. So
that's a good point.
And that's basically. And some of them don't have a real strong concept for work ethic. They think, well, I'm good. Yeah. Why do I beat all the guys I know. Why do I have to practice so much? Right. So a work ethic that is a serious Division I kind of work ethic is going to get you to Division I. Mm-hmm. And a competition level that's going to get you to a serious Division I level, that's the kind of things you need to get prepared. And you really have to focus them on their studies, because they have to be good in school to get there.
So important. Yeah. Absolutely. Best piece of advice you've ever given or been given?
Kind of funny, I guess. I'm not terribly good at serious, but my first AD, when he first gave me the job at Sam Houston, he told me, I said, what do I need to do to be successful? And he had an old kind of a country accent. He said, Williams, I tell you what you need to do. You need to get good players and try not to tick them off. So I've tried to recruit the best players I always could, and tried to be upbeat and encouraging, and try not to make them be playing golf upset, but trying to let them have fun. If they're down on the golf course, I try to go up. When I come up to them, I usually try to tell them a joke or something to lighten the mood a little, because they're upset. I can tell they're upset from the last hole or whatever. So I try to make them laugh a little bit.
I love that. You have a tough job.
Refocus and get them thinking about the shot they're over instead of the last shot they hit.
Yeah. And that's important. I love that because you do. You have a tough job. You have so many emotions that you're meeting at different points in the golf course through just one round.
Well, they all have a different personality in the first place, and they've all played a different score on the last hole. Some of them doubled it, and some of them bogeyed it, and some of them parred, and some birdied. So,
right.
I mean, I can usually walk up to them and see what they did on the last hole just by the look in their face or the look in their eyes. So,
right. Yes.
So.
All right, we are running out of time. We have a little game that we like to play. Let me check our time here. Yes, we are getting a little bit close, but we have a game I like to play called Favorite Things. I just like to throw out random things, and you tell me your favorite, golf course. So, favorite golf course you've ever either played or coached at?
Let me see. The favorite golf course I ever played would have to be Spyglass.
Oh,
It was phenomenal. Beautiful golf course, beautiful place. It was a lot of fun. I took my team there. Actually, after a tournament at Stanford one year, we stayed an extra night and went and played Spyglass the next day. And that
pretty incredible.
And I played with them, which it was hard for them because they had to help me hunt my ball. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Favorite golf club. So if you're going to go, this is my go-to club. I am picking this one every time. I would play a whole round with that club. What is it?
Probably 8-iron.
8-iron?
Because that's one of my drills. When I'm hitting my driver poorly, I start hitting a bunch of 8-irons trying to get the tempo back because I know I can hit my 8-iron well. So if I can hit my 8-iron well, then I'll pick the driver back up and try to make an 8-iron swing with it. So that's just kind of one of my go-to clubs.
I love it. That's a pretty common answer with our golfers that I ask. Everyone loves their 7 and 8 iron. Yeah. It's like 7 or 8, but 8 is really popular. Okay, favorite book.
Can I say the Bible?
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. It's the best book.
Pretty much read it every day.
Fantastic. Favorite golfer?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Maybe Patrick Cantlay, just because I knew him pretty well when he was in the Pac-12. So
okay.
When I was at Washington State, he was Conference Player of the Year. The last year I was there, and I got to know him because we were paired with him at the championship, and so I got to walk along with his group some because I had a guy in the group. So.
See, nice guy?
Very nice guy.
Nice guy.
Very nice guy.
Favorite team, or if you're going to be rooting for him besides your own?
I guess it'd probably have to be Washington State, just
okay.
because I spent 13 years there.
And favorite big tournament, PGA or NCAA? Favorite tournament of the year?
I guess it'd have to be the Masters.
Yeah.
That's the one everybody watches. It's the one I enjoy watching.
I bet it's fun watching it with your team, huh?
It is, and I've been there once, so that's good too.
That is good.
It was kind of neat.
That is on the bucket list. That is on the bucket list. Is there anything coming in? This has been so much fun. We've been visiting today with Walt Williams. He is the head golf coach with Midland College. Go Shaps. That's why I'm wearing my green today. Plus, it says I'd rather be golfing, which for me, I'd rather be watching my kids golf. Because me golfing is not so good. But I wanted to ask you in closing, is there anything coming into today's interview that you're like, I really hope that they get to hear this about my story. This is important to my story. We can even elaborate a little bit on your son being a coach now and how what that means to you. But I just wanted to make sure there wasn't anything we're missing today that really kind of is on your heart to share today.
Mostly probably just my family. I mean, I have 6 beautiful daughters and 3 sons that are great, and they're all mostly grown up now. I have 2 still at home. The 2 youngest are still at home, and just really, not many people have 9 children, but it was a lot of fun watching them grow up and watching every one of them played golf, and every one of them played pretty good golf. And
oh, that's awesome.
I think probably half of them played golf in college, and one of my sons played basketball in college, and one of my daughters played basketball in college. So I've been a sports family our whole lives, and it's been a lot of fun. And my wife is the most tolerant and the most patient woman in the world, and has encouraged me and lifted me up anytime I'm down, and she's been an inspiration to me, and I just wanted to talk about my family a little bit. So.
I love that. And there's really, that's why we do what we do, right? We do it for our family, and so if you're happy doing what you're doing, your family's going to be happy, right? Mm-hmm. And you have been so blessed to have a job you've loved for so many years,
right.
And I think that is a testament to them that carries over to your 9 children. And I love that they all played golf too, because I rarely meet another family like ours that all 4 of our kids play. And I love. I'm like, yes, another family, and they all golfed. I think that's great.
Yeah, they all played golf in high school, and most of them played golf in college.
So you and
Gil is the one that actually played basketball in college, but he's the golf coach at Ranger.
That's so cool.
Because he's
around it.
He was around it his entire life and played it. So
Yeah.
he ended up falling into a coaching position over at UTB for a couple of years, and now he's the head coach at Ranger. So.
Well, in closing, first of all, I want to just thank you for your time and sharing. And
pleasure.
I'm just so happy to know you and get to share your story. You and I both know the benefits of golf and the love of golf and the life lessons it teaches. If you could tell somebody that maybe has never played golf, what it is that you love about the sport so much and what you want them to know about why you love what you do.
I just love the competition of it, but I love the fact that it's self-regulated. You know, there are golf rules officials, but rarely do they have anything to do with the outcome like any other sport they do. So
Right.
in golf, there's not much of a really team to lean on. Basically, when you post a score, it's yours.
Yeah.
You know, and
It's true.
and obviously there's a team aspect to what we do because it's a golf team. So you have to count 4 scores out of 5, but when you post that score up there, it's yours, and you have to live with it, whether it's great or not great. It's all yours, and so you get a lot of the joy from the successes, but you have to own up to the disappointments too. So
Yeah.
I think that's unique in golf is that it's you against the world basically, and it's kind of fun and it's kind of unique, and you're outside and it's a blast to be out there, and unless it's raining or snowing or something.
Or the wind's blowing.
But
it's still fun. It still
Yeah.
beats being inside working, right?
and it's great camaraderie because you're playing with 3 or 4 other people, and you're laughing, and they're laughing at your bad shots, and they're clapping for your good ones, and it's just a tremendous opportunity to get to know people, and you really get to know people's character on a golf course.
You do. To me, it's a sport that's most like life.
Yeah,
it is
it
the most like life.
There's adversity that teaches you just like in life, and there's joys and accomplishments just like in life.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for sharing today. I appreciate you. And if you would like to follow the Shaps online like I do, and go follow them on Instagram, we're going to be rooting for you. We wish you the best this year. And just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job, and I know you're going to continue the legacy of that Midland College has as a golf team and a golf program. And we're so glad you're here.
Well, thank you. It's been a joy to be here, and I appreciate you giving us the time to talk about it.
Thank you so much. And we want to thank all of you for listening and sharing this podcast. Share it with a golfer, share it with a parent of a golfer, share it with everybody. Everyone needs to listen to the Krista Escamilla Show. We hope to encourage and inspire you. We also hope that you will dream big, believe, and never give up. Those are my mottos, and I hope that for you and when you follow your path and your journey. And a big thank you to our sponsors, joincapclub.com, shopfrackle.com, Rig ID, and Midland Cap Company. And that's it for us today. Thanks again for joining us. You make it a great day, and we will see you next time on the Krista Escamilla Show.